G'day everyone, it's Emma Jane or EJ Kafooples here, coming to you from Life in Kafoople Land. Today I'm doing the first year teacher tag loop with a whole bunch of other fantastic teacher YouTubers. This tag loop was started by
Christina Costa
from Teach Like a Girl. What I would encourage you to do is to go and watch her video now if you haven't already. I will put a link to her video below in the description box. The idea of a tag loop is that you will watch a series of videos from various different YouTubers in a specific order. If you go ahead and start at Christina's video, hers is the first one, and then you'll see a link to the second video underneath her video, and you just go through and watch them all. So if you've come here, you've probably come here from Megan's channel, Too Cool for Middle School, and she's got a fantastic channel and wonderful videos. So go ahead and look at all of her videos when you have the chance. Hers is the video before mine. And if you haven't watched hers already, please go back and watch hers. I will put a link to hers below if you haven't had the chance to watch hers yet. And then come back and watch mine. So we have a series of 5 things we're going to talk about in this teacher tag loop, and they're all about our first year of teaching. So for me, I've been teaching a really long time. I started teaching more than 20 years ago, so you can tell I'm one of those old ducks now. To think back to my first year of teaching has been a really fun experience for me. The first question says, what was your worst moment in your first year of teaching? So I've got a couple of stories for you. I was teaching on the central coast of New South Wales. In my first year, I was doing casual teaching, and what that means is that you would get called out on a day-to-day basis to replace a teacher who was sick or who was out doing something, a professional development day or something like that. I went to this one, and on the Central Coast there are some great schools, but there are also some quite rough schools. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but back then that was certainly the case. And I was real freshy and very young and didn't really quite know what I was doing. This one class I remember very clearly were so naughty. It was a history class, and I can't remember what grade level they were, maybe grade 8 or 9, and they had, I've never experienced this ever again since, but they had cap guns, and they have the string of caps that you put inside the gun to make it go off. They had these caps in their pencil cases, and every time I would turn around to face the board to write something or whatever, they would set off these caps. I don't know what they were hitting the caps with to make them go off, but they were hitting them with something, and then I'd spin around and try and figure out who was doing it, and I could not for the life of me figure it out, because the smoke would come up from the caps, and you would just sort of sit around, and they all had their innocent faces, and I could not decipher who was doing it, but there were a whole bunch of them, and I was so mad. I was so mad and so frustrated, and I didn't know what to do. I ended up going to get the supervising teacher, who gave them a great big revving, and eventually it calmed down. But I remember that so clearly, because it's something that I've never ever had before. At another school in that first year, a particularly rough school, I had a grade 7 class, and I think it was English, and they were known to be a very, very naughty class. And I gave them the handouts that the teacher had wanted them to complete. I handed them all out, and then promptly, I kid you not, 98% of that class straight away crumpled up all the sheets or tore them up and just chucked them around the room, just threw them everywhere, and I did not know what to do. I went to get the supervising teacher. They did not seem to really care that it happened. It became apparent to me that this sort of thing happened all the time, and I remember just being so horrified. I could not believe that children would do that, and I was quite affronted, to be honest. I didn't really go back to that school much after that, and I have to say I've never had anything like that happen to me ever again either. The thing that I think horrified me the most about those experiences was, even though the supervising teacher came to give assistance, that there wasn't really that much of a change of behaviour, and I remember thinking, wow, this sort of thing must happen on a regular basis, and what have I got myself into? I was a very good student when I was at school, and I would never dream of behaving like that, so it was a bit of a wake-up call in that first year. You do learn so much in that very first year, but you get a really thick skin, and you get a lot of strategies and skills together that you can use later on. Question 2 is, what was your best moment in your first year? So As I explained, I was doing casual teaching in that first year, and I remember really clearly, even though it's a long time ago, I remember driving to my very, very first day of work. I got the call, it must have been about 7 a.m. I guess, and I just remember being so excited that finally I get to do what I've been dreaming of doing all these years. And I remember that it was a 20-minute drive to the first day, and I was just beside myself with excitement. It's kind of cool, and I think back to my younger self, having such a positive feeling towards my job, my career, and my calling. Another thing that's really clear to me now, looking back, is that during that first year and during those first few years, you gradually develop confidence in yourself, and there's a beautiful thing, a beautiful feeling that I still sometimes get when I get given an extra period. Sometimes when teachers are away on sporting excursions or other excursions, the other teachers in the school are given what's called in lieu ofs or extras. When you are walking to that class and you know that you can do it, you can take that class, and all that you need is a piece of chalk and your mind and your heart, and you can do anything. And to me, that's a really, really empowering feeling. I mean, it's probably not a piece of chalk anymore, is it? It's probably a whiteboard marker is all you need, or a login to the smartboard. I just think that that is such a cool thing, that this is such a dynamic job, such an important job, but you know that you can do it with just a piece of chalk and your mind and your heart. I think that's really awesome. So I guess one of the best moments, or accumulation of the best moments of my first year, was to be able to have that confidence that yes, I can do this. Even though bad stuff will happen, I can still do it. Number 3, what is your biggest regret from your first year? My biggest regret is probably taking myself a little bit too seriously. I kind of thought that I was the bee's knees and that I could do this thing, and I was pretty good at it. And I think that I did have a lot, we all have a lot to learn, especially at the start. I think looking back, if I had just sort of lightened up a little bit, I might have been able to see the funny side or the positive side of the bad stuff that was happening. But that's easy to say looking back, isn't it? When you first start out, you are enthusiastic and really excited about your job. Number 4, what is something that you wish you knew before you started teaching? Well, I have been asked this question before, and I find it a really tricky question because teaching has changed so much in the time that I've been doing it, as far as technology goes and the way that we have to deal with the peripheral stuff. I'm not talking about teaching and learning, that's basic, and there are new strategies with that a lot as well, but at the end of the day, we're teaching little people. One thing I have noticed is the amount of paperwork and administrative tasks that we have to do is astronomical, and that wasn't the case when I first started teaching. So if I was able to look forward and know the amount of that sort of stuff that has to go on, I would be put off by that. Even though I'm a pretty organized person and I'm pretty good at administration, my one desire is just to teach the kids, and so all of this other peripheral stuff takes away from that, and it's exceedingly annoying. But one thing that I wish I knew earlier was how to handle the influx and the amount of all of that sort of administrative stuff that you have to do. I kind of have got a bit of a clue of how to do that now, but I wish that I had somehow gained those skills sooner. Number 5, what advice would you give to a first year teacher? I would say breathe, relax into it. There is going to be a lot of work in that first year. Everybody says that, it is true. But use that time to learn as much as you can from your colleagues, especially from the ones who are experienced and who've been around a little while. Take their advice. Don't think that you know everything, because you don't. Be kind to yourself, forgive yourself when you make mistakes, and realize that there are many factors that go into a successful lesson. Most importantly, learn to work as a team, because first year teachers often come out wanting to change the world, which is a beautiful thing, but I think they haven't realized yet that we are all doing the same thing, that you will only become stronger when you work as a team. I just encourage first year teachers. I love working with new teachers and guiding them and mentoring them. It's one of my favorite things to do. So if that's you, I'd love to hear from you. Put something in the comments below. Maybe tell me one of the struggles that you've had or one of the delights that you've had. I'd love to hear from you. It's now time for you to move on to the next YouTuber in this tag loop, and the next person is the wonderful Kate from Kate the Sleepy Teacher. She's actually become a friend of mine because we've talked live before. We've chatted in comments and stuff like that. I think she's a great girl. So enjoy that. I will put the link to her video below my video here. I hope you enjoyed this. If you liked it, please press the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. The first question says, what was your and I'm not really making any sense. Maybe I'll just answer the question. But what a tag loop is that no. Lots of YouTubers are tagged in a Lots of YouTubers are tagged. You've probably come here from Megan from Too Cool for Middle School. Hers is the Shers. And she's got a fantastic channel, wonderful videos because they're really fantastic. It's just so fantastic. Okay. So, I'm still warming up.